You are now about to witness the strength of street knowledge.
Welcome everyone to a new Side Chick Sermon selection. I want to thank everyone for attending. I have a wonderful word in store for you today. But first we're going to give God, the Almighty, worship and praises, thanking Him for blessing us to get through Christmas with family, friends, loved ones. And for those of you who wasn't able, who did not have the finances to go see family, visit friends, to travel, just thank the Lord that you were able to just be blessed to see another day. So just be grateful despite whatever current circumstances. But I have a wonderful word, a wonderful sermon I have prepared for you today. But first, before we go into today's sermon, first we're going to start off with some church announcements. Starting with Offset and Cardi B. May we offer a moment of prayer, because despite of what we may feel personally about Cardi B and Offset, which I never really perceived him my husband material, but that's another story. But nevertheless, divorce is not an easy decision. So we pray that God continues to uplift the both of them and give them strength in whichever direction they choose to go, and how they are going to basically deal with this division of marriage. Cardi has decided to call it quits after Blueface allegedly accused Offset in Chrisean Rock of smashing. So we do know that Cardi B and Offset have been having a lot of problems with Offset keeping his penis in his pants. And I think now, even though it has yet to be confirmed, again, all of this allegations are alleged, but nevertheless, because Cardi B has spared Offset so many times of the fornicating, of the indulging in unethical behavior and activities with other women. So whether this is a rumor or not, Cardi B has probably reached a broken place in which she realizes this marriage is not worth saving or fighting for, but it's going to be very ugly, because we have money involved, we have children involved, and rumor has it allegedly that Cardi B is the main bread winner. This is yet to be confirmed. I'm not really sure if that is true or not. You know, I don't keep up with the hip-hop industry world like that. I always thought Offset had more money based off the fact that he was with the group, the Amigos, but nevertheless, I cannot confirm or deny if there is truth to him having more money or Cardi B having more money. But what I do know is this: it is going to definitely, it's going to be a very ugly situation because we have children and we have finances and attorneys, and y'all know when it comes to these divorces, they can get really messy. So may we all keep them both lifted in prayer and ask for God to give them direction and give them the maturity to be able to handle this matter in a civil manner. Next on church announcement, we're talking about Kevin Hart, who has allegedly been accused by assistant of having an affair with the Becky. Did he not learn from Jonathan Majors, the lighter the chick, the more the law gonna stick? These brothers got to be careful. When you start mixing coffee with cream, and these judges, you got to stand before them, and these white judges looking at you as a black man being accused by a white snow bunny. You already know what time it is. You already know you're going to get that clank clank, that lockdown. Jonathan Majors is a prime example. And the words of Kanye West, soon as he get on, leave your for a white girl. But it's costing y'all. It's costing brothers in the industry. Because nothing more fulfilling than for the man, and I'm going to just call, them, the man wants to see a black man fail. Especially if it's anything affiliating, being involved with their queens. Because even though black men don't value us as queens, believe it or not, I don't hear these other men that drag the women within their race like black men drag us. So the law is going to look out for these snow bunnies' best interests. So Kevin Hart, if he has once again decided to step toe his midget self outside that marriage, knowing he probably needs a stool to reach the kitchen cabinet, knowing probably when he sits down on a curve, his feet can swing back and forth. It's always these short dudes that get big egos, especially when they start making big money. Shout out to Caramel Rail, who also covered the story. And we do know that Onika would not even look in Kevin Hart's direction had he not had the money he had. Because he's a short man. And we know that when it comes to these short dudes, their ego gets out of control. And so does their cockiness. But nevertheless, she didn't have a problem getting with Kevin Hart, knowing what his ex-wife, Tori Hart, went through. She had no empathy, no sympathy, because she indeed was a side chick. Even though she has denied these claims, and we're going to say alleged, this be nice, but we all know that Onika played a very huge significant role in the deterioration of Kevin Hart's marriage failing with Tori Hart. And even though it was already problems within the process, it does not make a side chick legitimate in getting involved with a married man. A lot of like what the Portia Praise team does. Yes, we know these Portia fans, how y'all love to keep congratulating her and Uncle Ben's. But the truth of the matter is, she did not get with him the right way. And even though there was problems already between Fallon and Simon, that does not make Portia less accountable in the fact that she played a part in the deterioration of a marriage. And yes, we know, because a lot of y'all like to co-sign and praise these side chicks and say, well, they was already having problems. Well, Fallon was already cheating. Well, Simon already, checked out. Regardless of the fact, regardless of whatever current problems are going on in somebody's marriage, it does not give you the green light to intervene in somebody else's marriage. I don't care if the married man you're dealing with, he says he does not love his wife. He says that he no longer goes to bed with his wife. He says he can't stand his wife. He says his wife is sucking off every Tom, Dick, and John King. It does not give you a pass in getting involved with the married man. I will repeat that. To all of my Jezebels out there, to everybody who's on the Portia praise team that wants to co-sign that Fallon and Portia was not friends. The whole bottom line was that was somebody else's marriage. Now, had Simon and Fallon been divorced, and she never knew Fallon, never tried to build a friendship with Fallon, never been to Fallon's house, then okay, that's free game. But the fact that she actually been in this woman's house, whether if they were best friends, new friends, or associates, it does not justify that Portia will get her karma and due time with Uncle Ben's, like Onika is getting with Kevin Hart. Because this is not the first time that Kevin Hart has been caught in a scandal. So even though I don't care for Midget Man, and I don't care for Onika, because you have a lot of these women like her and Portia who think they have pretty privilege. And as long as they have the two S's, the shape and the smile, they automatically feel that that does not justify them from being a Jezebel. When in fact, indeed, we know a whore is a whore. Whether she's a pretty whore or ugly whore, Section A whore, high value whore, a whore is a whore. So, Onika, you're getting back your karma, sweetie. We know you think you have pretty privilege because you have that Asian persuasion going on. But at the end of the day, your midget man is stepping out on you. Because when you have a short man with a big ego, he think he's God's gift to women. And we'll go in more into that sermon as the word continues. And of course, we got Messy Martell, who seeks attention like a single woman. Still being on Love and Marriage Huntsville, being messy, starting conflict, anything to keep a storyline going, because the truth of the matter is he has nothing fulfilling going on in his life to keep his storyline interesting and to keep the audience entertained. So what does he does? He goes back and resorts to being the messy Mitch that he is. Oh, forgot to give Kevin Hart and Onika, even though I'm not fond of either one of them, but prayer is still necessary. Pray for God to deal with Kevin Hart's ego, and also not only his ego, for his wife thinking that she has pretty privilege, and thinking because she has bare 2 children from Kevin Hart that she has him, you know, in her clutches. She will always have him, you know, as far as being in his pockets, but she has no control over that penis. And Kevin Hart, let no penis come between us. That's what I would have been telling him. Your penis is coming between us, sir. Because you're out here fornicating, committing adultery with other women. Have you not learned that's how you lost your first marriage? We keep these 2 lifted in prayer, that they stop going around thinking that this Hollywood image is going to compensate for all the hidden demons that's lurking within their marriage, because Kevin Hart cannot keep his penis in his pants. So we keep they lifted up, keep the hearts lifted up in prayer. So I had to put in that prayer for them. But going back to Messy Martell, he's just dead weight to the show. He brings no significant purpose. He's like old abandoned furniture sitting outside on the curb. that needs to be collected by the trash, by the sanitation department. Because he has no storylines, he has to resort to talking about him and Mel. Him and Mel had been over 3 years ago. He's also living with his concubine. It's been over for 3 years. So why is he still trying to find a storyline by still going back and forth about Mel cheating on him, which we all know it was Martell who did the cheating. Not only that, he produced a little Chucky, a little helmet, out of his adultery, out of his affair. And for those who have a problem with me calling little helmet, you are welcome to exit the congregation peacefully. Because I said what I said, and nothing's going to change that. And that is the problem with us as black women. We keep wanting to give women like Portia, keep wanting to give women, females like Air Mattress Ariane. We want to keep giving them a pass on their Jezebel behavior. And you see nothing wrong with it until these women get involved in your marriage, take your husband from you, or their husbands allow them to disrespect you. It's all fun and games until it's you. So Messy Martell, my prayer for you is for you to just disappear to the pits of hell where you need to be. That's my only prayer for Martell. I have nothing else to add to that equation. So that is my church announcements for today. Now let's get into the main content, the main sermon at hand. I apologize for that brief interruption. Of course, people don't keep up with the times of the congregation. And every once in a while, they will interrupt the word, which is annoying. But nevertheless, we're going to go right into it. We're going to talk about the types of men that are most likely to commit adultery. I felt this was a very important sermon because it's a lot of women out there, unfortunately. We're still very gullible. And you would think that all of the examples we have witnessed with these men, regardless of their status, regardless of their color, their age, we're seeing every day how a lot of these married men are exposing themselves, that they really have no respect or no regard for their marriage, for their vows, and it is costing them. But most importantly, it's costing women who are oblivious and being in denial, will overlook the red flags, will make excuses, and you may not always know exactly what to look for. You might not always know exactly what you want, but you should at least be aware of what you don't want, things that you should not accept. You may still have uncertainties about what type of man you should look for, what type of companion you should seek. And it's okay to be uncertain in that, but you at least need to be certain about what kind of men you don't want to be involved with. You don't want to marry. You don't want to hold up your whole entire future for. So we're going to break down the different elements today, y'all, in the congregation. We're going to talk about, so far I got 12 types of men. If I think of any more as the sermon goes on, I will add it in today's word if I feel necessary. So the first type of men that are most likely to commit adultery is young men. And what I mean by young men, I would say age range between 18 through 35. Now, this does not exempt older men, because a cheater is a cheater, but I'm just letting you know the highest probability when it comes to statistics, who is most likely a high risk factor. Okay, so and we know everybody's capable, anybody's capable. You know, there's really, you know, like we can't generalize, but in this instance, we're talking about the highest risk factor, who's more than likely, okay? So I don't want people to be like, well, I got a young man and I've been with my young man. I've been with Lil Greg for 7-8 years and he never cheated on me. But when I was with Willie was 60 years old. Willie was around here, you know, messing with Sister Jenkins in my church, then messing with Sister Betty, who I go to bingo with. I know all men are capable to some degree. Okay, nobody's exempt from committing adultery, but I need y'all to follow me because, you know, women, we have offense filters, especially when it comes to something that's personal to us, especially if it goes against the grain of of our situation. We quick to get offended. We quick to want to bring up exceptions. Well, what about this and what about that? Listen, save me from the exceptions, okay? There's an exceptions to every rule, all right? But I want us to all stay focused on the word. Leave your personal biases. And because it relates to you, you feel like I'm stepping on your toes. Listen here, sister. Embrace the message. Embrace it, you know. Don't hate the message. Embrace the message, because it could be beneficial to you. If it's not you right now, it could be you later, and maybe this word may give you the encouragement that you need in the event you are to encounter this matter at some point. So the first type of man that's most likely to commit adultery are young men. This is a no-brainer. Like I said, this is basically from ages 18 to 35. You have a lot of young men out here that are emotionally underdeveloped, which means they have not transitioned fully into manhood. And it's a known fact that women, by nature, we mature faster than men. And there's many factors that played into that, because for one, we actually are the ones who carry babies. Two, some of us have been raised to be domestic, cook, clean at young ages, while during their age, during their youth, they was out running the streets, shooting hoops, you know. They didn't always, in some cases, you know, get the responsibilities. They didn't have the responsibilities we had. Some did. Some were able to learn while they were young how to cut grass, how to work on cars. You know, if they had an older man, a father, or somebody, a stable male figure in their life that taught them how to do manly things and handle manly responsibilities at a young age. But for the most part, some of these young men did not get all the masculine tools they needed in order to be you know, good husbands, you know, good fathers. And even more so these days, you have a lot of these young men who will rush down the altar because, of course, you know, a lot of women, especially young women, they've been playing with dolls. They've been learning how to be domestic at a young age, learning how to nurture for kids, learning how to clean, cook. You know, we've been learning how to do things like that when we were like 6, 7, and 8. Remember, we had our little cooking set, our pretend cooking set. We had our pretend baby doll. We fed the baby. We dressed the baby. They was playing little toy guns. They was playing with little soldiers. They was playing, you know, robbers and Indians. You know, bang bang, and playing with toy guns and stuff like that. So a lot of them was not domesticated. They did not learn early the responsibilities of being a man. So when you get these young men, you have a lot of young women who automatically want to play house. They want the boy, the girl, the cat, the dog, the picket fence. And because these young men are willing to go along and play the role by marrying or you know, moving in and playing house, a lot of these women, you know, think because now that they're living together with these young men, or now that they have children together, now they thinking they're automatically going to get a good husband, not understanding that if he was not taught at an early age how to be a domesticated husband, he's not going to become a domesticated husband just because y'all living up under the same roof and you cooking and cleaning for him and bearing his children. It does not go that way, and this is how a lot of young women get disappointed. They playing house with these young men who lack the maturity. Because what marriage means to a lot of young men, what they think marriage is, it just means it's unlimited sex. They think, okay, this is my wife, this is my baby mama, we live together, we married, I can have sex from her anytime I want. You know, they're looking at the sexual favors and benefits versus looking at what they need to do as young men. And I'm not saying this is the case with all young men. If it doesn't apply, just let it fly. Again, you have some young men who were taught very early how to have husband potentials, and you got some men in their 60s and 70s still ain't husband potential. So it's going to be different barriers, and it's going to be different factors. It all doesn't apply the same to everyone. But young men are definitely prone to committing adultery, because the truth is a lot of them during this age, they have what's called a one-track mind. They don't know how to stay focused on one thing, which means just being a family man and being a husband. Their eyes are still going to be wandering. They're going to still see other women that are attractive, that they're going to find themselves attracted to, that they're going to want to sexually experiment with. And because a lot of this, again, it has everything to do with lack of maturity. They didn't get a chance to go out there and explore and to be with a whole lot of women. And let's say if they did, it does not mean that it's completely out of their system. I've told my daughter the same thing. You know, my daughter's 22 and she's having a hard time finding guys at her age that wants to be serious, that wants to be committed, that wants to settle down and want to have a family, or those who pretend like they do. Once you get serious and you let your guard down, you find the text messages in his phone, you find that he's still reaching out to other women and all that, because the truth of the matter is a lot of these young men are not ready to let go of their freedom. They're not ready to get to that place in which they're going to give up everything and just wholeheartedly dedicate themselves to one woman. Not when they are still young, because truth of the matter is they are still trying to find themselves. They are still trying to transition into manhood, and you cannot become a real man until you have fully transitioned into a man, and that is the problem. You cannot go by a man's physical attributes. I don't care if he's 6'9". I don't care if he has the biceps, the triceps, if he's packing more nuts than Mr. Goodbar. Until he has that mental mindset, you cannot go by how he looks. You cannot figure because he has these thick facial hairs, these sideburns, and he has this bass in his voice, that he's a man. Or because he drives a nice car, he's a man. Or because he knows how to make you bust a nut or two, that he's a real man. Just because he can make you climax and give you orgasms, it does not make him does not mean he's going to be a good man. It just means he's good in bed. And a lot of women mess around and get dickmatized and get disappointed because you're not understanding how this guy who looks like a man is not a man. A man looking like a man and a man actually being a man is two totally different things. So you can lie to yourself because he's tall, 6'9", and you know he has a six-pack and all of that. That does not mean his mental mind psyche is on the same page with how he looks. He might look good, but it doesn't mean mentally that he is good. So understand that when it comes to dealing with these young men who are still finding themselves, who are still trying to land on their feet, who still trying to figure out where they want to be in life, what they want to do in life, you know, they're most likely going to commit adultery because they don't have the maturity in order to understand that being a family man means there's a lot of things you're going to have to give up. You can't be out here, you know, still living like you're single, still being in the clubs, still holding inappropriate conversations with females on the job. A lot of them are just not built for marriage material. So it brings me to my second point. Types of men that are most likely to commit adultery are men with mommy issues, like Martell. It's a no-brainer. You can learn a lot about a man by just observing what kind of relationship he has with his mother. Now, like DMX, the rapper DMX, some of you women out here may not be too fond of hip-hop, and I get it, but DMX, one of his stories, his story before his untimely passing, I always kind of gravitated towards his energy because DMX, you know, he spoke on God a lot, and you know, people who had any type of spiritual sensuality can tell that DMX was a very lost, misguided guy. You can tell he had a good heart. You could tell his hunger for God, his hunger for wanting to seek a more meaningful, purposeful life. However, it was the demons of the industry that basically, you know, ended up conquering the very thing that he was trying to avoid. And even his ex-wife 𝓜𝓸𝓬𝓱𝓪'𝓼 said that he was a totally different person, you know, before he got in the, you know, the industry. You know, he went from Earl Simmons to DMX, and we do know that whenever you get into this industry, you get attached to a lot of demonic things, you know, that come with the territory. You sign a deal with the devil. You have all of these snakes, these crabs. Not only that, drugs play a very significant role in the industry. We've had a lot of talented musicians, talented athletes, talented individuals who unfortunately met their demise because of drugs. We've seen Prince, who passed away from, I think, opium overdose. A lot of, you know, talented people in the industry have lost their life due to drugs, whether if it was illegal drugs or whether if it was legal drugs but excessive overdose. Like a Michael Jackson's case, you know, he didn't pass away from cocaine or fentanyl, but, you know, the fact that he was a millionaire, he can get access to drugs anytime he wanted to. So he had a lot of yes men, you know, and unfortunately in the industry, you have what's called a lot of yes men. Nobody wants to tell you no because nobody wants to lose their job. Nobody wants to, you know, not be able to feed their family. So they agree and give these celebrities things that they know aren't good for them. But, you know, they, you know, want to be people pleasers to these celebrities, even if it means the celebrities losing their life in the process. So anyway, DMX did not have a healthy relationship with his mother, and he made it very clear that, you know, he was given up for adoption. His mother basically gave him away at a young age, and because of that, he never could really learn how to really bond or have a healthy relationship with women, which pretty much explains why he has multiple children for multiple women. I think DMX has, what, 14, 15 kids. He's had a couple of children within his marriage to 𝓜𝓸𝓬𝓱𝓪'𝓼 before she finally threw in the towel and divorced him. DMX was a lost soul, and he was a wild child. You know, he had a hard time being able to understand the value of women because his own mother did not value him. If not that, you have a lot of men that have mommy issues. You know, just like you got women who got daddy issues, I have a lot of men out here who got mommy issues. You have a lot of men who cannot stand women or have no respect for women because the first woman who brought them in this world, who was supposed to nurture them, who was supposed to love them, their own mothers abandoned them. Their own mothers did not give them the love and the support that they needed. So what tends to happen is when you have women who run into these men, like Mel did with Martell, you know, you end up fulfilling the shoes of being a second mother. You pretty much end up doing everything that the mother was already doing, or you end up doing everything that the mother was supposed to do. If the mother wasn't nurturing and supportive, you find yourself having to do all of that. Let's say if the mother was an enabler, like Martell's mother, and I call her Mammy, like Martell's Mammy, Mammy Marlene, she enabled Martell. She's always allowed him to get away with doing things. She never disciplined him, never structured him. And because of that, when Mel or you know, other women would put him in his place, and specifically Mel, she had a hard time being able to gain that respect from Martell, because Martell had a mother that always enabled him and never made him accountable for his actions. Anytime you're dealing with a man who has mommy issues, there's but so much you can do to compensate for that. All of the women that DMX had gotten involved in, it didn't matter how much love they gave DMX. It didn't matter how many children they gave DMX. DMX was a lost soul. Despite all of the children, all of the women he had, it was not enough to keep him off of drugs. And a lot of that had a lot to do with his childhood. A man's childhood plays a huge significant part in how you're able to function with him as far as being his wife or being in a relationship. A man who does not have a good relationship with his mother is going to be very, very hard to have and build a solid relationship with, because the problem with men like this, they have more potentials of cheating, because being that they did not get all the love and the nurturing they needed from the one woman who was supposed to value them the most, which was their mother, they go out here seeking love from multiple women. Because see, one woman is not enough, because the truth of the matter is, who they needed to love from more than anyone, way before these women started coming into their lives, giving them children, having babies for them, they did not give that love and security and appreciation from their own mother. And nothing is more heartening and disappointing than to know, as a son, your own mother never wanted you. She left you with family members to raise you. It's a lot of men out here who've been raised by everybody but their mama. They've been raised by their grandmama. They've been raised by the aunt. They've been raised by everybody but the mama, because either the mama just resented them because he looked so much like the daddy, and because the man she loved, which was his father, disappointed her, rejected her, she took that frustration out on her son. You look just like your daddy. You act just like your daddy. You're going to be just like your daddy. You have a lot of women who have left their sons because things did not work out with the father of that son, and they took that frustration out on their sons. You'll be surprised, it's a lot of broken black men who are walking around here, and you would not know how broken they are, because they got the triceps, their biceps, they got the nice cars, they got the good paying jobs, but underneath all of these this masculine image is a broken little boy who still has not gotten past the fact that his mother, who probably passed away, who's no longer here to apologize and make peace, or either if she is here, she's not all the way in her right mind to really comprehend what she has done, or she just really don't give a damn. She didn't give a damn when she had him, and she still don't give a damn now, even though she's probably in her 70s or 80s. So men who have mommy issues are most likely commit adultery, because you have to realize the woman who they were seeking all that love, all that attention, all that fulfillment has failed them, and he thinks that the only way he can fulfill that void is by being with multiple women, not realizing it doesn't matter if he sleeps with Keisha, Kim, or Kiki. It's not going to be enough to make him whole unless he first accepts that what has happened in his childhood was not his fault, 2, seek some type of spiritual leadership, talk to other men who have been there, who have done that, you know, and 3, find a woman that's patient enough to be willing to understand that, you know, he's damaged from his childhood, and is still willing to work with his broken pieces. It's going to have to be one or the other, or all. You get what I'm saying? But men who have mommy issues, that's Martell's problem. Martell is a mommy's boy who basically was always enabled that it's okay, son, no matter what you do, I'ma love you, I'ma support you. Some of these women have crippled their sons to become another woman's nightmare versus a blessing. So for all you women out here who got sons, please raise that man to become another woman's blessing and not a nightmare. Raise him to be somebody's blessing and not a burden. You get what I'm saying? And same thing, you know, raise your daughters to be another man's blessing, not a burden in his life. Men who got mommy issues will cheat, because again, they are constantly seeking feminine attention and fulfillment from multiple women, because they did not get it from the main woman who brought them into this world, which was their mother. Other types of men that are most likely to commit adultery, sexual addiction. Listen, you know, you're going to stumble across, and it does not matter, you know, what kind of guy you meet, what kind of man you meet. He has a past. And, you know, the truth of the matter is, unfortunately, men are hunters by nature. They are hunters. They are always looking for someone to capture, to conquer. They're looking for the weakest prey. It's in their nature until they really get filled with the Holy Ghost, when they really get filled and saved and delivered from that spirit. It's definitely going to still play a major significant part in the flesh if they don't get any control over it. Okay? So, you have a lot of men out here who have what's called sexual addiction issues. And there's a lot of women, you know, who are beating themselves up, you know, and feeling like they're not worthy, they're not enough. They can't understand, you know, how they have a consistent sexual relationship, meaning they never really deprive the man of his sexual needs. She's not holding back on him for months or weeks at a time, and yet no matter how much she sexually pleases him or sexually gives herself to him, he is still stepping out, having sexual relations with other women, and it starts to devalue. That woman starts to feel devalued, as if she's not pretty enough, she's not worthy enough, or maybe she's not sexually adventurous enough. When the truth of the matter, some of these men, especially those that are overly demonically sexualized, there's never enough sex you can give them to make them feel content. Meaning that it does not matter if you're having sex with him every night. It does not matter if you're sexually, you know, fulfilling his needs. If he is struggling with sexual addiction, if he has the spirit of perversion that has basically taken over his spirituality, he's going to constantly be out on a sexual demonic prowl, because lust has become a soul tie, has become an attachment to him spiritually. So dealing with a man that has sexual addiction issues, he's going to always step outside of his marriage. You have some men that that are overly lustful to where one woman is just not enough. It's not enough. He has to be with multiple women, and this is a sexual perverse spirit that he's going to have to wholeheartedly seek deliverance for himself. You could drag him to the church all you want. You got the pastor to pray over him. You got the pastor to put anointed oil on him. But until he sincerely himself wants to be delivered, it will be ineffective. You're just going to have a demon, a sexually perverse demon, sitting right next to you on the front pew of the church. Okay? You can baptize him. You can pray for him. But until he wants to be delivered from that sexually perverse demonic spirit, he's going to consistently keep stepping outside of marriage. You have some men who need sex like a dope fiend needs dope. You have some men who need sex like an alcoholic needs a drink. You have some men who need sex like a person struggling with health issue still needs food. I hate to say this because we use the word addiction all the time, and addiction to me is more of a worldly term. I call it a spirit. You know, it's a spirit of lust in which he has to seek spiritual deliverance. Men who have this sexually demonic spirit are not understanding They would never completely feel whole regardless of how many women they sleep with, how many sexual positions. Does not matter if he's getting sex from a variety of different women. It's never going to be enough to fulfill him, because what he's not understanding, what he's missing in his life, only God can really fulfill that broken area. Not sleeping with multiple women. You can sleep with multiple women and still feel empty. And a lot of them experience this. They go to bed with all of these women and still don't feel whole, still don't feel happy, still don't feel no sense of fulfillment, because what people are not understanding is lust is greedy. Okay? You can never feed lust enough to the point to where lust is satisfied. That's why it's called lust. And when you're feeding lust, it's like feeding the flesh. You cannot feed flesh. Flesh is always hungry. Flesh never gets full. So men who have sexual addiction can't eat, sleep, or breathe unless they are between the legs of multiple women. He is most likely to commit adultery. A man that has sexual addiction. That happened with actor Halle Berry and her husband at the time. I forgot the man's name, but I'm gonna tell you his name in a minute. Halle Berry got so many ex-husbands. You have a lot of these men that have sexual addiction issues. Eric Benet admitted he has sexual addiction. And Halle Berry stated, and I remember in the interview, she said how she felt like she wasn't doing enough. She, felt like she wasn't pretty enough, and really it had nothing to do with her. This was his own demonic spirit. He was struggling to conquer himself. And that is what happens. Women, we want to take the fall when these men don't have enough discipline over their own spiritual lust, and we take the fall, feeling like if we did more, if we was more adventurous, if we just pleased them more, that maybe they would stop, maybe they would be happy, maybe they would stop dealing with these other women. And that has nothing to do with it. That is his own flesh that he has failed to get deliverance from. So yes, men with sexual addictions are what I would like to say sexually demonic spiritual soul ties are most likely to commit adultery. Next type of men is wealthy men. I say men are only as faithful as their options. You have a man that has a lot of access to things. These millionaires, these billionaires, these athletes, these rappers like Offset, Kevin Hart. Let's face it, these men are not that fine. They don't get, if they wasn't making the money they was making, put it this way, if Kevin Hart worked at the pawn shop, if Offset was mopping floors in the McDonald's lobby, women would not be checking for these men if they did not have money. Money makes the most unattractive men look good. And this is how a lot of these guys like Shaq, I mean, let's face it, Shaq is not handsome to me. He's a very nice guy, very successful, but the type of men that be putting these women, Rick Ross, I mean, we know if these guys had average jobs, if they was managers at Dunkin' Donuts, nobody would be checking for these dudes. Period. But wealth brings an abundance of variety. Wealthy men are most likely to commit adultery because they have a lot of options. Going back to Kevin Hart, you can tell looking at his younger pictures, Kevin Hart was a square back in the day. Same thing with Martell. A lot of these guys that got a little bit of looks to them and not much, they were squares back in the day. Women was not checking for them. You could tell these guys was the undesirable. These was the guys that would ask all the girls out to prom, and all of the girls would laugh at them and be like, girl, Kevin asked me to the prom and I turned him down. Oh, you, girl, he asked me too. And I told him no. Oh, for real, he asked me too. He was one of the guys back in the day. You could tell none of the girls was checking for him. He was a shrimp. He was a square. He was a simp. A lot of these guys get up in the money and act like they've been fine all the time, knowing good damn well women was not checking for them then, and women ain't checking for them now. But as long as those checks, as long as they're producing those checks, women will check for them as long as they're producing them checks. Women are only checking for Kevin Hart because he has money. Okay? Other than that, that Asian persuasion would not be with him. And y'all know it. She's taller than him. You know, she looks like if they would, they don't even like they would dine out at the same restaurant together. But see, these wealthy men, because they know they have these options, you know, they know now they don't have to use their looks to lure a woman in. Some men have enough of physical attributes. Some men are fine enough or handsome enough to a certain degree to naturally allure women without them having to do a whole lot. Kevin Hart is one of those type of guys. The only way he's going to pull women, he got to pull out his card. Period. Let's just, a lot of these guys in the industry, only way women are going to check for them is they got to pull out that card. It is what it is. You got some men that are naturally handsome, like Denzel Washington. You got some men that are just naturally attractive men who don't have to do a whole lot to make a woman notice them. You got to remember, some of these guys grew up with self-esteem issues. They were not, you know, popular. A lot of them was not athletic. They just didn't cut it back in the day. And now that they have run into some fame, some notoriety and success, they're making up for all of those years of being the square, from their childhood, of being the guy that was always rejected at the prom, being the ill boy. Like, anytime you brought up his name, ill, Kevin, ill, you know, the ill boy, you know. So now that they have run into fame and success, they want to compensate for all the times where they were rejected and women was not checking for them. So now they're luring all these beautiful exotic women who normally would not pay attention to them. You got to realize these type of men are not used to attention, and a lot of them are still traumatized and still living in the past from when women rejected them and did not want them. So now that they are making money and making success, this is their get back moment. Yeah, I know I was the short, dark-skinned boy, dusty boy that nobody wanted to play with on the playground. Nobody wanted to push the swings with me. But look at me now. I'm the short dude standing on a stack of money. I got it like that now. I got all these women who want to check for me, when the truth of the matter is they know women are not into them. They know women are only into what they are. But because their self-esteem is so low, they are willing to be with women who only want to be with them for the money. Kevin Hart does not have a lot of self-worth within himself. He does not. You know, that's why he loves to be a comedian, because his way of joking, and I believe he uses his comedy as a resource of deflection, to really hide behind the little boy that people used to pick on, laugh at, and make fun of. I believe he still camouflages behind his comedy of acting as if he's unbothered, that, you know, he's no longer feeling that sense of rejection. I think he still struggles with rejection, which is why he's willing to be with beautiful women who he knows normally would not be attracted to him had he not had the money he had. Men who aren't used to getting attention from women, when they run into money, even when they are married, they are most likely to cheat, commit adultery, step outside of their marriage. Because you got to realize these men are not used to attention. They're not used to women desiring them. And even if they know they are being used, the way they look at it is, as long as they're benefiting, even if it's being used, they don't mind these beautiful women using them, because that still strokes their ego. So the next man who is most likely to commit adultery is the ambitious men. These are men who work a lot. These are men like athletes, rappers, actors. You know, these men are constantly traveling. They're constantly on the road. Men that are very driven are never home. And this is why you have to be very careful about, well, I want a rich man. I want a man that's to get a bag. I want a man to make a lot of money. I'm not saying settle for a man that's in poverty, settle for a man that's struggling. But realize that there's a catch-22. Men that make a lot of money, the sacrifice that comes with that means they gotta work a lot of hours. They have to travel. They can't be stationary. They're not going to make money by staying home, staying within the states. They got to branch out. They got to broaden their horizons. They're gonna have to travel. All of that comes with the territory. Women who are married to athletes had to deal with their husbands being on the road a lot, never away from home. Women that are married to rappers, they will tell you their husbands are constantly gone, always on a tour bus, always going to the after parties. It's always the thoughts hanging out in the motel lobby. All of that comes with the territory. A man is away from home a lot, and when you're out on that road, there's a lot of temptation. There's a lot of, opportunities that you normally wouldn't just walk upon on a daily basis. You have women that intentionally target these type of men, athletes, rappers, actors, men that the celebrity status, not just celebrity status. If he's an attorney, he's a doctor, or he has some type of well-paid profession. Women particularly target these type of men. Men that are very ambitious, men who are hardworking, they are very likely to cheat because they're always away from home. It gets lonely. It's but so much phone sex and FaceTiming you could do. And I don't say this with pride because I'm happy or I'm justifying that men should be, or we should be okay with men doing this. But we just got to keep it a buck. We got to keep it 100. These men are constantly on the road around women, going to clubs, going to after parties with their homeboys, with their teammates, with their entourage, going to strip clubs. You know what goes down in the DM. So yes, men who are ambitious, who are always driven, they're most likely to commit adultery because they're constantly on the road, never home, a lot of temptations. Number 6, celebrities, which pretty much aligns with what I just said about ambitious men. But celebrities, like I said, Kevin Hart, Offset, Nick Cannon, all these celebrities and stuff. Women are drawn to them not because of who they are, but what they are and what they feel they can benefit. All of these women did not have a bunch of kids from Nick Cannon just to have kids from Nick Cannon. They wanted not only to be associated with Nick Cannon, but they wanted Nick Cannon's lifestyle. They know if they were to get pregnant from him that he has to cut them a check, or if not a check, he has to supply them with whatever they need financially, because supposedly he doesn't pay child support. I don't know, allegedly, but whatever they ask for, he delivers. Or however, I don't know how that works, but nevertheless, celebrities, men who are, like I said, pretty much in the same alignment with wealthy men, men that are well known, that are popular. Women are going to target these type of men not because they so much want the man, they want the lifestyle. Because if he didn't have that lifestyle, they wouldn't be attracted to him. Bottom line. Next group of men that are most likely to commit adultery are egotistical, cocky men. Men that are very full of themselves. Men who got money. Men who got nice cars. Men who feel like they have arrived to a certain destination, to where women should be looking at him, perceiving him as God's gift to men. God, as God's gift to women. These men with this type of mindset, like Martell, even though he's broke as a joke, if you rub him enough, you'll only be practicing, because that's just how goddamn broke he is. In his mind, he thinks he's the prize. Men that think they are the prize, they think that no matter what they do, a woman should just be grateful enough that he's still willing to be with her, that she should just accept whatever he does. These are the type of men you definitely want to avoid, because they are most likely to commit adultery, because if they think they are the prize with you, they think they are also the prize to other women. That's dealing with an out of control child, a rebellious child. They think they can do whatever they want because you got all of these certain women who have stroking their ego. Martell thinks he's God's gift to women, even though nobody has really been checking for him other than Air Mattress, because he's been with Mel, a successful, beautiful woman, been with Sheree because of different women who are beautiful, who have given him an opportunity. He really thinks he's the cat's meow. And Ariana Air Mattress not only stroked his penis, she stroked his ego at an all-time high. So just off of her giving him excessive booty and blowjobs, he really thinks he's all of that. He thinks he's the best thing since sliced bread. And a lot of women, we create these monsters. We make them think that they are a prize and we should worship them and praise them no matter what he does. And when they turn around and disrespect them, we try to cover they fuck boy shenanigans. We try to camouflage it and make them look good because he's the father of our children. Ultimately, the disrespect comes back on us. When you try to keep these men looking a certain way, and you try to preserve their image, even though you know you are the main one that's making it happen. That's what Mel did. Mel was the main one making it happen. But because he was her husband, at the time, she did not want him to look pathetic. She did not want him to look sloppy. So she helped him to cover this image of being a real man that he never was. And it all came out in the wash when she left him, just how less of a man he really is. So egotistical, cocky men who think they are the prize, are most likely to commit adultery. Especially when they think they got that prize penis, honey. When they think they got that prize penis, you really can't tell Pookie nothing. Pookie with the prize penis, yes, honey. He really thinks as long as he's putting it on women, as long as he's laying the D down, as long as he's dropping that good wood, he think he has it all under control. So beware of the Pookie prize penis possessions, okay? Next group of men that are likely to commit adultery. This is a good word, y'all. Make sure y'all hit that like button, please, because this is a good sermon. I'm putting in work today. I'm giving y'all a lot of knowledge. You know, I'm giving y'all a lot of good sermons and giving you good word today. So hit that like button right now. It only take a second. I appreciate it. Next, we're going to men in poverty. Like I said, it's not just wealthy men that are liable to cheat. Also, the poverty pookies, meaning men who are struggling, men who don't make a lot of money. Martell, perfect example. Okay, a man does not have to be rich to cheat on you. I've known in many instances women who had poverty pookies staying in their apartment all day, sleeping off their rent-a-center sectional furniture while she goes to work. He drops her off in her car, and he rides around in her Toyota Camry till the gas light comes on. Chills at her apartment complex. Knowing it's a lot of single mothers who live out there. Listen, it's a true story. I knew this one particular dude, this one female who took in a poverty pookie. Basically a builder bum. A dude who ain't had nothing, but she called herself, you know, dressing him up, buying his clothes, you know, just to say she had a man, just because she wanted to avoid being lonely. She just wanted something warm in bed next to her at night. You get what I'm saying, girl? You could have bought an electric blanket for that. But anyway, a couple of women have done this. I used to, when my mother was living in housing, you know, the majority of women who live in housing are single mothers. So a lot of them had guys staying with them now who technically was not supposed to be staying there, but you know, housing kept up with these things, but then they didn't keep up with these things at the same time. So anyway, she would go to work, all right, young female, single mom, you know, not wanting to struggle by herself, even though she not understanding getting involved with poverty pookie is still bringing struggle to her. But anyway, these dudes would be smashing other single mothers within that same housing, low income housing apartment complex, because it's other single mothers who live there, reside there, who don't work, and because he didn't have a job, he was smashing half of the single mothers in the apartment complex. This is a true story. When I was going to see my mom, was this one particular guy who stayed with his baby mama. Now, his baby mama was very ambitious, made a lot of money. You got some women that's like that. You got some women who don't mind their poverty pookie, sitting home all goddamn day while they work. You got some women, I don't know. I'm not one, but some women have the mindset of they just want their poverty Pookie to be home with the kids. If not his kids, her kids. I don't know what it is. Some women are just that insecure. They'd rather him stay home all day, thinking if he get a job, he gonna meet other women on the job, which is crazy to me. But this is the mindset of a woman with low self-esteem. So anyway, this dude was smashing another female who did not work, that stayed directly underneath them. So think about it. Anytime she came home to be with her poverty Pookie, they smashing, they getting it in when she's not working. His side chick, Section 8 side chick, living directly underneath them, is hearing that headboard squeak, hearing that bed bang up against the wall, and yet when she leaves and goes to work the next morning, he's coming downstairs and clapping her cheeks as well. And what ended up happening was he ended up getting the other girl pregnant because he was smashing her just that many times. Because he was unemployed, his sperm was full-time employed. Okay, his sperm was working. He wasn't working, but his sperm was. He ended up getting the other girl pregnant. Okay, so what ended up happening was, I guess she started putting two and two together, and when the baby was born, somehow, some way, somebody hipped her, because you know the apartment complexes, everybody talks, everybody runs their mouth. Somehow it got back to her that her poverty Pookie was smashing a Section 8 Jezebel underneath her. And once she found that out, of course she was infuriated. She left him. She broke up with him. She left him. And y'all already knows, guess what happens? Section 8 queen, she takes in poverty Pookie. She takes them right on in. Believe it or not, these broke poverty Pookies, they get just as much play and coochie as these wealthy men. It is what it is. Men in poverty are also likely to commit adultery or cheat because it's a no-brainer. They have nothing going for them. They have no skills. They have no plans. They have no goals. Whenever you just let a man live off of you and he does not have no plans, he does not have no, he's not doing anything to build himself. He's not trying to start a business. He's not working to stack up no bread. A man without a plan is dangerous. He's a liability at this point because he has nothing solid going on for him to realize he does not need to make reckless decisions. When a man has a plan, most likely he's less to make reckless decisions because he has a lot to lose. But a loser who has nothing to lose, he don't mind going out here recklessly. This will be the one that's smashing your neighbor. This will be the one smashing one of the female cousins in your family. Poverty Pookies are a high risk like wealthy men. Only difference is he has no money. He has no plans. He has no ambition. Broke men still feel like they are entitled to sleeping with multiple women just like wealthy men. Pookies don't feel like I ain't got no job, so I shouldn't be able to hit. I shouldn't be able to pump and dump. They are still egotistical. Even a poverty Pookie who does not have a job, who does not have a car, who's living off of women, his ego is at an all-time high. He still feels like he's entitled to having the same thing that men had to work hard for to get for years. So you don't want to deal with a poverty Pookie. You don't want to deal with a man who has no goals, no plans, who's not working, who does not want to grow in life. He will become a liability because, again, he has nothing to lose. Next, men that are repetitive cheaters. This is no-brainers. Listen, if you met him, he was cheating on his wife. If you met him, he was cheating on his fiance with you. Women are still not figuring that out yet. You have a lot of women who still refuse to understand that when a man cheats on you while he's in a relationship, he's going to cheat on you once you get in a relationship with him. It is basic common sense, but you have a lot of women out here, their self-esteem is so low or they're so delusional and feel like they are holding such a golden prize between their legs that it will not happen to them. Ariane Air Mattress does not believe Martell would ever be disloyal to her, even though he has proven multiple times that he has played her. He has, betrayed her. In her mind, she still feels like she's the ultimate prize at the end of the day. These men are most likely to cheat. It's a no-brainer. The proof is in the pudding. A man who you was dealing with for months and years, and he had a wife, he's going to cheat on you. Again, because you have to realize you got some men that's like this. You was willing to accept me when I was cheating on my significant other. If you accepted it with my wife, I know you're going to accept it in the event I lose my wife and choose to be with you. You knew I was a cheater, so therefore you're going to accept me cheating. Martell would never feel bad about cheating on Ariane or disrespecting Ariane, because he was disrespecting Ariane from the start, getting involved with her knowing he was married to Mel. He's already disrespecting you if he's in a relationship or he's in a marriage. So you're not going to get any respect later on down the line, whether he stays in his marriage or not. The way you get him is how you lose him. Common sense. Next, men who don't seek God. Listen, it's a lot of us who are struggling in areas in our life spiritually, and there's not enough counseling, there's not enough medication, there's not enough therapy, there's not enough of tell-all books and audio tapes that can give us enough of guidance to where we can break these unhealthy habits that have basically consumed and taken over our lives, to the point to where we have lost money, we have lost our marriages, we have lost relationships. A lot of things we need in life to give us closure, to give us fulfillment, is going to have to be done through Jesus Christ himself. Period, point blank. Unless you're dealing with a man who understands the importance of him having a relationship with God as a man, he's going to consistently be lost in the sauce. It's not to say that if he goes to church every Sunday, you're not going to have any problems. If he's on the deacon board, you're not going to have any problems. Let's just face it. You got a lot of men who go to church, but they're not men of God. There's a difference. Like, you have women who go to church, but they're not women of God. There's a difference between Christian folks and church folks. Okay? Anybody could go to church, but is the church in you? Okay, that's the whole bottom line. Church is just a building. Do you carry the Spirit of God in your life? Do you carry the armor of God in your life? Are you living the Bible? Are you just preaching the Bible? Are you living the Bible? Are you actually living the Word and not tiptoeing in and out with the world? Because you cannot serve two masters. You cannot serve one and not serve the other. You cannot serve them both at the same time. You definitely want to deal with a man who's not a perfect man, but has some type of spirituality with God. I strongly believe any man or woman who has a relationship with God, you will be grounded in some form or another. Does not mean you're not going to have issues. Does not mean you're not going to struggle with certain things, but I strongly believe that when you have a relationship with God, he keeps you grounded. He keeps you from straying but so far that even if you were to stray, he will give you the intuition and spirituality in order not to stray further than what you would have strayed without any spiritual connection with God. You definitely want a man who has a relationship with God, who prays, who understands that he is not so strong of a man that he can battle all his demons alone, that he's actually going to have to seek God and seek his demons, whatever struggles he's dealing with. He's trusting God and dealing with God to help him to be able to have some type of structure or balance over not allowing any worldly habits to consume him. So you definitely want a man who does understand God, who does know that he has a purpose as a man of God. A man who does not feel he has a purpose is an endangerment to himself, and he is an endangerment. He's a liability to any woman who does try to give him the benefit of a doubt. Next, this will be the last one on the menu. Men with powerful positions. We're talking about political leaders, pastors. Power comes with greed. And that is the dangerous part about people who have too much leverage, whether if it's socially, financially, spiritually. Some of these men get power, and it gets to their heads and inflates their ego. And what a lot of people don't understand, power without compassion, power without spiritual guidance is dangerous. You cannot give a person with a lot of power, if that person does not have any spiritual guidance, balance, he's going to sabotage his leadership. He's going to sabotage anybody underneath him who follows his leadership. You have a lot of these pastors, for instance. You know, you have a lot of these men that are supposed to be men of God, that are supposed to be leading souls into salvation. Some of these men, I'm going to say not all. If it doesn't apply, you don't have to reply. Some of these men abuse their leadership in ministry. And instead of, doing their roles as a vessel for God, they're using the pulpit for their own personal gain. Whether if it's sexually by, having sexual relations with women in the ministry who admire his powerful position as a pastor, personal monetary gain, the fact that his congregation entrusts him so much as their leader that they're giving him all of this money, and yet he's not making good with the money. He's supporting his own demonic habits. He's going to strip clubs out of town. He's partaking in sexual relationships, paying for prostitutes. Some of them are even dealing with men. They're fornicating in the down low lifestyle. Let's face it. Some of these men in ministry, they are confused with their sexual identity. They want to believe they are attracted to women, but at the same time, they're creeping and sneaking with men. And in their mind, they feel like as long as a woman don't know he has an attraction for men, he don't feel like he's down low. He don't feel like he's, rainbow. You have some men who look at it like this: well, I'm only having sex with men, but that don't mean I want to be with a man. I just like having sex with him, so therefore I'm not part of the rainbow. You'll be surprised how some of these men in high powerful positions have convinced themselves to believe that they don't have a problem. We've seen it with Bishop Eddie Long. This man was fornicating with other young men within his ministry, and he held that lie all the way up to the day he died. He left here with that lie. He was not willing to repent, not willing to be transparent and say, look, I'm struggling with this issue, and not understanding that maybe him being transparent would have probably saved a lot of men under his leadership who was also struggling with their sexuality. No, but instead he paid off his victim. He did the, Puff Daddy, paid off his victims, the hush hush, and every interview, every, every interview, every time it was brought up and someone had asked him about all of the allegations that was made, he would tiptoe, dance around it, never acknowledge it. But yet we had all of these young men who came out, and everybody can't be lying, yet you paid all your victims off. So the proof was in the pudding that Bishop Eddie Wrong, that's what I was calling him back then, Bishop Eddie Wrong was living foul. And yet, you had all these members in the congregation that was still supporting him, still, ride or die, even though the proof was in the pudding. He even had 𝓜𝓸𝓬𝓱𝓪'𝓼 who got mad because a lot of the people left Bishop Eddie Wrong to fellowship with him. And he basically said, if you know that you was once upon a time a member of my friend church, you don't need to be in my church. You need to go back and support him. You need to go back and continue to keep fellowshipping with him. He just had a wreck. I don't know if y'all remember that, but I remember when 𝓜𝓸𝓬𝓱𝓪'𝓼 said Bishop Eddie Wrong just had a wreck, minimizing all of the damage he done to his victims as a wreck. I lost respect for Creflo Dollar ever since then. And you know, this, you know, and like I said, I got a lot of people that's not going to agree with me, but this is the reason why I cut out the middleman and I serve God in my own way. I pray. I'm trying to get back and read my word more. These churches, they have just gone astray from really standing on people not bringing reproach into these churches. None of these members, these pastors, these deacons are living unethically, getting exposed, and yet no matter what, people are saying forgive him, we all got to pass. Nobody holds these men in ministry accountable anymore. And it really takes away the purpose of people trying to have a relationship with God, because it's basically saying, if my pastor, if he's able to dibble and dabble and, you know, fornicate outside the marriage, or more than fornicate and do stuff, and no matter what, he still gets support, shoot, we can do the same thing. But anyway, y'all, we gonna get ready to wrap the word up. Please make sure y'all hit that like button. Leave y'all comment below. I will be checking out the comments. I will be reading what y'all have to say about this. And you know, I still got my side chick sermon that's going to be coming up too. I'm going to be getting my scriptures prepared for that. So anyway, y'all, love y'all. Thank y'all for hanging out with me. It's your girl, your diva in knowledge, Lady Mocha, representing Mocha's Ladies Lounge. Y'all be blessed.